Oh, there we go. Look at that. Well, look at that. Said I'd go live this week, and I did. I really didn't think I was going to make anything till the end of the year. Something really strange happened, especially when I got the virus that shall not be named. What's today's video mystery? We're talking about my encounter or a visitation or a hangout with a guy who watched my near-death experience, um, which has 450,000 views now, and that's pretty insane and incredible, bordering on viral. So he was a local who watched my video, and we hung out, and he had some absolutely Angel. There you are. Hi. This guy himself had some absolutely extraordinary experiences, and I asked his permission if I could share like some of his stuff, and some of it seems a little bit like too personal, but I'm going to be careful with the words I use and stuff. I mean, he's it's essentially a stranger to you guys, but he did give me permission to talk about this stuff, so I think he would probably appreciate it being shared. Actually, really incredible person in general. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe that people meet by accident. I don't believe anyone you encounter is by accident. There's always a reason for it and the purpose behind every person you encounter to teach you something. And I think this was especially a case like that. So, for sure. Yeah. So, yeah, but before I get into that, what I was saying was like, um, the weirdest thing about the virus that shall not be named, whatever you think about it or not, it exists or doesn't, something happened. The effect on my mind was extraordinary. I've never experienced anything like it. Like, to me, it didn't feel like a flu. It almost felt like something was like siphoning my brain energy. Like there was just nothing working. uh, Out of all the symptoms, the worst thing was just this mental anguish. It's like this mental emptiness that is just undescribable. And other people have experienced this too. I've talked to other people, and slowly but surely, sort of things are getting back to normal, to where I am dreaming again. Uh, Not really remembering my dreams, but I do remember snippets here and there, which is progress compared to just total blank mind from before. So I'm kind of thinking I'm slowly pulling out of this. So maybe the prognosis of no videos till the end of the year is not accurate. I mean, well, I don't know. I guess it just depends. So we'll see how that goes. My brother told me a guy he works with went to the airport and they were pointing a purple light gun at people's forehead and they could tell if you had. What? He serious? This is in Canada, I assume? Because fortunately over here, um, even the most liberal places, I mean, leftist as it gets, nobody checks anything anymore. I mean, like I said, I was just in LA. You know, the I'll Google it. That's kind of creepy as hell. Well, I heard about the purple lights, the street lights that they were putting up. I don't know if that went away or if that's even a thing anymore. But in 2021, that was talked about quite a lot. Or yeah, Quick question. During your vivid dreams, have you seen a UFO up close? Uh, I've seen UFOs before in general. Yeah, Angel, it's not going away. Even though it's, more free here now, I think sooner or later they'll probably push the boot down. But at least it's not China where, the forcible anal swabs, which I don't understand how that's even possible. Like, how can you like that's a real tyranny right there. Pulling people in the middle of the street and forcibly anal swabbing them is like a violation that is just beyond comprehension. I mean, that just says like the Chinese are cattle, and that's why they're protesting. Yeah, giving people cancer, exactly. So to answer Mystery's question, I don't know. I think so. I mean, I've had many dreams with like alien type creatures, but UFO specifically, no. But I have seen numerous UFOs throughout my life in general, including the famous 1997 Phoenix Lights incident, where my whole family saw that as that triangular craft went over the whole state of Arizona, basically. I've seen like really unusual orbs here and silver craft. My brother says he saw a UFO like 2 weeks ago, like a silver disc that just disappeared in the sky. I haven't seen one in a really long time now. Uh, I don't know. I can't gauge a year, but maybe several years now since. I mean, I would see unusual stuff here and there. Like the sky is always weird to me, especially for us Mandela affected people. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to really think about that question though. Mark of the beast on the forehead. Wow, yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Well, at the airport, I guess it kind of makes sense because international travel is still, I mean, it's still pretty strict in that regard. I mean, I don't know if he was traveling internationally or not, but it's really a thing if you're traveling out of the country for sure. North Texas hikers here. Seems like a lot of people are dying of cardiac events, even people in their 40s, 50s. No, earlier, 30s and 20s. Younger than that. What about all those dead athletes? I have these news pop-ups every day. And every single day there's like multitudes of young people suddenly dead. And then that documentary that I shared, which I recommend, called Died Suddenly, about finding these weird clots in people's bloods and things like that. It's really interesting documentary and kind of disgusting too. The guy is moving out of Canada. He was going to buy his condo, died suddenly. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, cardiac events, blood clots, and things like that. Yeah, really strange. Well, okay, remember several months back there was an article about how there was a 40% increase in death rates of people ages 18 to 49, um, according to insurance stats, people who pay out insurance and stuff. So apparently, according to their own standards, according to that documentary, a 10% increase would be like alert level, catastrophic level event. 40% increase is apocalyptic, they claim. So I don't know what's going on. Playing video games. Yeah, I heard about that too, the video games. Yeah. So let me get into this now that we're 10 minutes in. Let me get into what this guy was telling me. Well, first of all, now that you mentioned UFOs mystery, I had a I had a really weird sort of dream. It wasn't really a dream experience that I've talked about literally like multiple times on this channel. And I'm going to talk about it again because this person that I met claims to have had an almost identical experience to mine. So I'm going to go over the experience and his similarities to what I went through. And Angel is definitely going to remember this, Angel. So I was in like this upright position. There's two figures standing on either side of me wearing white doctor-like robes. I felt almost like I was tranquilized, like I was given horse tranquilizer or something. Like I felt like I wasn't asleep, like this was actually happening, but I was in a total stupor, and I could barely function or keep my eyes open. And it felt like it was happening like right here in this very room you see right now. And I'm like trying to keep my eyes open, and these two figures are blurry. I can't see their faces. And so they open my mouth really wide, and they start extracting this metallic, yucky, spongy substance that has this slime on it. And it has the consistency of like a metallic sponge you would use to wash dishes, except it was very slimy. And it felt like they were just taking it out of my mouth for like forever. It just felt like it kept going and going and going. And so I don't know why I chose this experience to tell this person I met, by the way, out of all the ones I've had. But I chose to tell him this one. And so he's like just in complete shock. He's like, that happened to me. I had a metallic taste in my mouth. Me too, actually. I've actually had a metallic taste in my mouth too in the last few weeks, now that you mention it. I thought it was like from the CBD oil I'm taking, though, or something I'm eating, maybe. Like I couldn't pinpoint where it's coming from, too. So, but yeah, like this guy, his name's Tim. He's like, what the hell? That happened to me. He said that he was like in this upright position, in like this stupor, his arms folded, except he said he was bent backwards a little bit. I remember standing straight up. That he said he was like kind of in this inclined position, and that they had his mouth open, and that he actually remembers like some kind of communication. So there's two beings on either side of him, and he's recalling this communication between them. And he said that they told him that they're not trying to hurt him. So again, they're extracting something from his mouth. So that was one synchronicity that me and this gentleman shared. And again, these experiences are pretty similar to abductee encounters that have been experimented on and things like that. So I sit here and sometimes wonder if we are abductees. I don't know. Like, I've never had anything happen to where I could conclusively say, yep, I was on a ship. I remember, I know, I can't verify that at all. I just had a lot of I've had strange things like missing time. And then the owl encounters, which me and him also share a synchronicity in a different way, but I'll get to that. I only ask because I'm pissed there's no videos or photos of UFOs up close. They're always so far away, but look so cool. I thought you mute has been I wish. I know they are far away. There are a handful. You corrected my like 5 times. Okay, there are a handful of videos where they are up close, actually. I remember seeing one where the camera zooms in and you could even see two beings inside the craft. I don't know like what to look for. I saw this many years ago. Ah, man. What are these? Let's just remove him. Thank you. Sorry. They're just always there, aren't they? No matter where you go. Okay, so yeah, I don't remember the name of the video, anything like that. Okay, so I wish I could help you with that. but you could clearly see the outline of two beings in a craft. It was up close. But I know what you mean. You know what encounter I wish was filmed up close? In like the mid 90s, there was a story of a school in rural Zimbabwe or something like that. And this craft landed in front of a school, and these beings came out and communicated with these children, supposedly. I don't know if you guys ever heard this story, but they interviewed them many years later and they stuck to their story like that. Like it was solid and spot on. And it's like, yeah, it's a good question. I want to see that too, mystery. I want to see something right in my face. But most of the stuff that claims to be that most likely is a hoax. Okay, so there is a skeptical side we have to maintain with all this as well. Do aliens even need physical vehicles? That's a good question. That's such a good question. But you know what? Maybe they appear physical to us, but that they're not actually physical. That could be a possibility. Maybe that's how we perceive them as being. But to them, from their experience, they're not physical at all because that's what we're used to, right? That's what we're used to seeing, solidity or whatever that is. They see more of light, right? Exactly. Yeah. And some of the ones I've seen over the years definitely look like they were made of light or energy. Off the coast of San Diego over here a few years, I think like 2015. Actually, my sister-in-law and I saw all these weird lights off the coast that were traveling in formation, and they had just this amazing kind of shimmering quality to them, and they were super big and bright, actually, and they were just slowly gliding. And I think it even made the news in San Diego. That was a big encounter too, actually, several years back. So yeah, so I don't know if you guys remember my experience with the white owl that I saw everywhere, um, but for some reason I'm not seeing this owl anymore. Those like people like Angel, older subscribers know that I used to see this white owl everywhere I went. Hey, loyalty. Yes, there you are. To the point where the white owl flew right in front of my door and looked me right in the eye and just flew around the building. At the time, I was doing a job where I was traveling all over the city, and this owl would fly over my windshield everywhere I went. I would go outside, stand somewhere. There was the owl. The owl was everywhere, and uh, they're positive. They represent wisdom to me. That's what I see when I see an owl. To me, they represent sort of like stoicism, wisdom, um, purity, light, transcendence. They represent strength, overcoming. That's what I see when I see an owl. Yeah, higher wisdom. I mean, they are a powerful thing, right? So, absolutely. I think they're positive too. But again, this owl wasn't normal. It looked nothing like it looked nothing like our local owls that we see here, the standard barn owls with brown fur. It had very white fur. It was very massive. I mean, very massive with like a 4 or 5 foot wingspan. We just don't have owls like that in our local area, so that was really strange on its own. Over the course of like a year or two, I probably saw it, no exaggeration, like 50 times. And then just one day it stopped. So why am I talking about this again is that this person I'm talking to, Tim, says he's always been obsessed with white birds. So not specifically just owls, but he showed me on his phone like this whole like he has a whole thing dedicated to white birds, like white ravens, white swans, white doves. Just this whole page on his phone dedicated to that alone. Uh, I love owls and large raptors in general. Oh, they're beautiful. Yeah. I love hawks. They're really interesting. I actually really like ravens too. They've been swarming like crazy around here. Ravens are really intelligent and really interesting. You love frogs? I like frogs too, but they always freak me out a little bit. They always kind of gave me the creeps. And then especially when I dissected one in high school, I never looked at a frog the same way again. That was just nasty. I was not digging that at all. And then there was a time when I contemplated being a mortician, and then I remembered dissecting that frog, and I'm like, no, if I become a mortician, I'll puke every time. Even watching that documentary, I don't know if you did you see it, Angel? Died suddenly. That was freaking absolutely disgusting. Like them showing the blood and the clots that were coming out of the blood. You should see it. It's on Rumble. It's really easy to find. Uh, it's it's incredible what they're finding. So basically, the summary of the documentary. I'm not going to spoil it entirely, but a lot of morticians and people who run funeral homes are seeing a massive. Yeah, I know it's old, but there's some new updates. Okay, so seeing a massive increase in deaths, first of all, of people of all ages, and they're seeing these strange, long, stringy clots in their blood, and they can't even get the embalming fluid through their bodies. So, by the way, I don't know if YouTube is going to strike me for that, so I'm going to use my words carefully. Just that's not what I was even intending to talk about tonight. But yeah, and then they're finding all this strange substance in blood and really weird. It's nasty. It's freaking nasty. Whatever's inside of people. Oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. It's older knowledge. I've known about it for a while now, but they show you up close and personal. Like these bodies are filmed right in front of you, and they're embalmed right in front of you, and the blood is right there, and the clots are taken out right there. So that's what makes this different. Okay, it's instead of just some guy on Zoom talking about this stuff, they're actually showing it to you now, like solid proof, if there is any. I've seen surgeries and just you're not squeamish. Yeah, I am sometimes, and sometimes I'm not. I don't know what changes based on that, but sometimes I'm like, whatever. And then I don't know if it depends on what I eat or how the day goes. And other days I'm very squeamish. So it just depends. Crappy food. Maybe Texas hiker. Maybe it's the crappy food. Yeah. I don't know. Or from South America. I didn't know that. Okay. That's pretty interesting. Yeah. So continuing what Tim told me. I don't know if I should. This story seems kind of personal, but okay. He had a really dear friend, actually, a really really close friend that died when she was only 20 from a heart condition, and he was devastated by her death. And according to him, she actually appeared before him in a sort of similar like state, like when we were discussing earlier about not that sort of whatever we were talking about with the stuff extracting from mouth, but it was a sort of altered like state that he was claiming to be in. And in this state, she appeared before him and told him that there is an afterlife. Because he was super, super depressed and completely devastated from his death. So, but she held his hands, and he felt her hands, and it was like he said, it was pure love. it was just this unconditional love. And she let him go. And she also said that they allowed her to talk to him briefly. And so he then exits that altered state and comes to. And his roommate says that he was just sitting in a corner crying for 5 hours. He doesn't even remember it happening. But he was talking to his dead friend who died so young, you know? And I was like, dude, that is beautiful. Like, that's just incredible. Like she like confirmed to him there is an afterlife. And that's a beautiful thing, I think. I don't know. Oh yeah, the animals. Well, I don't know if you saw the community post about Dan Beck, my friend, another local guy here. I never get doctor notifications. That's funny. That is a weird autocorrect. Hey, Pengredy. Yeah, I'm not your doctor. Not now, okay? Not your doctor. um, yeah. So he said that this is normal. So I don't know. You could go to my community post now. Let me actually try to find it. That this is some kind of brain disease that animals have. But if it's normal, then why is it even a thing? Like, I don't get why anyone's bothering to talk about it. If this is just a thing that happens. Okay, I do know that reindeer go in circles. Everyone sort of knows that. That's been sort of common knowledge forever. And maybe a few other types of similar animals. Okay, here I found it right here. I'll read what Mr. Dan said, and maybe this is an explanation, maybe not. Okay, so, well, to be a skeptic, only a dozen videos or so have surfaced across the world. If it was some worldwide event, there would be thousands or millions of videos. Animals circle for many different reasons. Zoochosis and listeriasis are mental and psychological diagnosis of documented of wild and farm animals doing this behavior. Other mammals like wolves do circular pattern and packs naturally. Well, yeah, okay, wolves and dogs, yes. Even dogs do this before they go to bed as a genetic predisposition. Just a viral video, I would consider a sign of a godlike entity if this actually happens as a global event. Billions of animals doing this, then we're screwed. So there, Angel, I guess it's just whatever. Animals just go in circles. Hey, Wes, what's up? Again, why did it go viral then? If it's just this normal thing? I mean, is this a Mandela effect now? Because it's not normal to me. I mean, especially ants and worms and cows and sheep and all the other things that were shown. And then keep in mind that video of the sheep in China going in circles. That was like for 3 weeks that they were doing that nonstop. Mental disease, I guess. Well, what if it's like a zombie-like mental disease? And then I did mention that movie that I haven't seen, by the way. I just had a friend, or actually a friend sent me a TikTok about it called Cell, where the end of the movie, all the people are in this zombified stupor in a mind control state, walking in circles around this massive tower. Okay, and very reminiscent of these animals. And then, of course, the whirling dervish of iPad Go 2 and the whirling motion in general. The whirling motion in general is symbolic of hypnosis or a hypnotized state. So just because millions of videos don't exist, first of all, we can't possibly know how many animals it's happening to. Okay, I wanted to make that clear. Most people don't live in the wilderness. And like, I don't know, like you can't really tell unless you have like a view of the entire world all at once. I mean, I guess there should be more for it to be a real phenomenon. I guess that's a good argument, but to me, it's still going to be strange, even with that conventional scientific quote unquote explanation. It just seems odd to me. Okay, so Wes, you do say that it's certainly a well-known phenomenon with ants, okay, and their pheromonal scent paths get crossed up to the other animals. Yes, peculiar indeed. Yeah, I have seen Cell. Okay, different takes on the zombie and transhumanism subject. So tell us what your takes on. I'm curious. Like it's choreographed. Yeah, it does kind of feel like it's choreographed. Yeah. Uh huh. But why are humans doing it now before they die? Oh, you just hit the nail on the head. You freaking just, yes. Because I saw those videos too. Like, they're spinning in circles and then they just like collapse and just fall to pieces and just end up dead. Like, and we're talking about not a dozen videos about like the animals. There's probably hundreds of these videos of people spinning in circles like there's something in the air, like they're looking at something and then they just collapse and die. Now, that is not normal. I don't know about the animals, but what if it's like the mass bird die-offs or dolphins and whales beaching themselves? That's a whole phenomenon in and of itself. Okay, that is, I don't know if it could be related, it could not be, but that is a bizarre phenomenon in and of itself, actually, Longstar, I think. And all the fish, too, all the fish die-offs, the bizarre things, yeah. Death spiral for a reason. Yeah, and then a few of those videos are really gruesome where like they were on a subway like waiting for the train and then they would spin in circles and fall onto the train. Really brutal stuff. Just some frequency pen greedy. Yeah, we definitely have to take into consideration some sort of frequency weapons. I don't remember that channel I used to share quite often. Look out for Charlie. Emily Moyer talks about it. I was just recently on her show, by the way. I should have forgot to even mention that. But yeah, some sort of ELF waves, possibly some transmission of frequency. Death suddenly is strange. They're usually at least a modeling process before. Yeah, yeah. Well, sudden death, just in general, used to be kind of rare. You know, like most people die of disease or accidents. Stuff like that. But just like falling over dead used to be a very rare thing, not very common. So yeah, they think something is coming at them. Yeah, some of the videos, Angel, I agree. Like they would be spinning and like they're like something is like trying to catch their attention. It's so weird. Hey, Kel Bell, videos I've seen have all been a clockwise motion. I think about whirlpools in water. They create suction. Okay, that's interesting. So, well, like, okay, so like a vortex, maybe pulling into something, maybe siphoning, or that's interesting. Magnetic, magnetic, right. Uh, wow. This is so interesting. I don't know if I should even talk about multiple personalities anymore, but maybe I should, because what if this is even all related to that? I have to at least tell you about this guy if you've never heard of him. We all have iron in our blood, yeah. The people spinning and dying seem like there's something shocking before they die. They remind me of the Nazis and Raiders of the Lost Ark with the expressions before they get melted. Yeah. Yeah, Longstar. That's a good analogy right there. Ben Greedy, you're asking, does anyone feel like almost like a vertigo sensation lately? Yeah. all the time. And more than that, I'm getting ringing in the ears quite often. I'm really having trouble waking up, like tremendous trouble, like way worse than normal. Okay. Like something that doesn't feel normal. Like I always hate waking up early, but I have to. But whatever's going on, it doesn't feel normal in the morning to me. And North Texas Hiker is saying, are the poles reversing? I think you just brought up something really incredible. Um, that is another thing because that is also magnetic, right? So if there is magnetic reversal or the poles flipping or like even the magnetic poles, um, could be causing animals to spin and people even and all kinds of weird and odd symptoms. That's super interesting. Um, yeah, the pole shift. I remember that discussion. Kill Bell says vertigo. Absolutely. Just a second. So, not to like dramatically switch the subject or anything, but let me tell you guys about one of the most bizarre things I've ever heard in my entire life. As a matter of fact, uh, has anyone heard of the case of Billy Milligan? Sound familiar to anybody? Playing with circular shaped particle colliders. Yep, good point. Uh, is one of the weirdest crime cases I've ever heard of, where this particular individual was accused of some serious crimes um, that I'm not going to mention here for PC purposes. I've already gotten kicked off of Facebook 7 times over the last 2 months, less than that, to the point where I don't even want to go on there anymore. So he was just accused of some very serious crimes. Let's just say that, okay? And he was arrested. And he had no clue what happened to him or why he was arrested, what was going on. He had no memory of anything he did. And they started doing these really extensive tests on him, like psychological tests. And they discovered he had 10 different personalities, all separate from one another. Um, and he has like no memory of in between them. And so what's really strange is that his mom, because one of these personalities was a British guy, he spoke in a British accent. One of the personalities was Yugoslavian. And according to his mom, he even spoke the Yugoslavian language to her. And he didn't in these interviews with the psychologist, but this is what his mom said. And he had 10 different personalities from like 3-year-old girls to like old men from all over the world. And it's just such a bizarre concoction of people. And he was basically acquitted, I think, or sent to an asylum. I don't know. I haven't watched the whole. It's a whole series on Netflix if you want to see it. I don't remember the name of the series. Sorry, but you could just maybe type in Billy Milligan. And basically, I'm sure you heard of MK Ultra and the splintering of the mind to try to create alters. This kid was basically that. And he had a very traumatic childhood, which sort of contributed to that. And a very interesting event happened when he was born, too, which makes me wonder. Primal Fear, I don't know if I saw that. Is that Open Vessel? Is that another movie? Haven't heard of that one either. So when he was born, he was actually dead for a few minutes, and he was resuscitated and revived. So right from the very beginning of life, he was in extreme trauma, basically. And then he had multiple stepfathers who were all alcoholics. How that happened, I have no idea. And were all very violent. And so he had a very traumatic, violent childhood. And I'm kind of thinking multiple stepdads Maybe he's like he created an altar for each one of these stepdads, maybe. Um, but my question is, I want to look at this deeper, like on a spiritual level. Like, what does this mean on a spiritual level? Like, because for example, like schizophrenics, I think they're talking to real entities. And so many people I've talked to think these are real things they're talking to, and real dimensions or whatever that they see, you know? And so is there a similarity with this? Or is there like multiple souls inside of one body? And then the whole idea of walk-ins and change souls changing bodies, like this whole idea is really bizarre to me. I don't know what to think of it. Maybe his soul left and others came in. Yeah, Angel, that's actually exactly what I was thinking when he died when he was first born. When they really, like, actually the nurse already pronounced him dead, like he was gone. And then the mom was screaming, like, no, resuscitate him. And they managed to resuscitate him. And so maybe that is what happened. Maybe that soul was like, I'm gone. And then all these weird characters came in, right? Like the British guy and the Yugoslavian guy and the 3-year-old girl. And they just all like attached themselves to this body for some reason. But why? My question is, why would they do that? And then it turns into this like one of the most bizarre life stories I've ever heard, where he gets accused of these crimes and were people crimes in which normal people would be spending the rest of their life in prison in, and he was not charged with them because you see video. Okay, so they show videos of interviews with him, and he expresses these different personalities and how they change, and like his expression changes completely, his eyes change. It's like literally different people. It's so freaking weird. It was open. Yeah, yeah, Angel, it must be rare. I think you brought up a good point. Um, that it must be rare. Um, I guess, everything exists. So, like, why not have all these bizarre experiments with the physical bodies and the souls? Like, what are they doing up there in heaven? Like, hey, how about we have 10 people inside one body? Let's see how that turns out. Like, why not? Like, why not? But then again, like it turned into a disaster for him, right? Like he had a terrible life. Okay, so I mean, this is a really traumatic thing to go through, and a really, if it's just an experiment, it's kind of a screwed up one, if you ask me. But I don't know. Maybe they weren't gonna get another one if they didn't. Oh, that's clever. That's clever. Maybe like they weren't gonna get a body and they just wanted to like jump in and attach to anything they could, and they saw this opportunity. But then like how do we know that doesn't just happen like in the waking state? Because okay, remember Aurora, my friend Aurora? She really beautiful person, really interesting, really artistic, has some incredible art. She lived here in San Diego but moved back up north. And she says that she's what you would call a walk-in, where, she was one soul for part of her life. And then for some reason, all of a sudden, they switched. And I heard about this before. And it's kind of similar to like organ transplants. People have organs transplanted and then they start taking on the characteristics of that person who they got the organ from. That's kind of what I think of when I think of a walk-in, right? And then like Aurora says that, she's a totally different person, a different personality, different everything now. So that's kind of creepy too, though, honestly, in some ways. I think we are one soul, but when we are born, in order to understand this plane, we're focused in this ego cage. And then we experience trauma. cracks in our psychic veneer allow other souls to enter. Wow, that is really interesting. Yeah, I mean, that might be the purpose behind trauma or traumatizing people in general. That's really interesting. Oh, so Angel, I feel others' energy when I'm in a bad place. Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, I feel other people too. And so Wes asked a good question if she had an NDE, and I wouldn't describe it as an NDE, but it's really similar. Like, yeah, she had a really similar experience. Actually, she has a YouTube channel, Wes. You could go talk to her yourself. It's called a flying. Let me try to remember what it's called. It's a flying rainbow lasagna or something like that. It's a really weird name. Yep, it's called the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, and she's still very active. Okay, she just did a upload 5 days ago, and you could just go there and because I don't remember her story exactly of what happened, but wow, that's a pretty long live stream, like 3 hours. Really interesting, introspective, really deep thinker. Definitely check her out. Emily Moyer is here. Shows up when I'm about to go soon, but yeah, you're still here. Uh, okay. So, Long Star, you said MPDs would split from trauma, but where those personalities come from, I don't know. Do they invent it or deal with certain things? Do they pull aspects of them from a collective consciousness? That's a good point, actually, Long Star. Because what if they actually um, sort of ingest what we would call like an egregore or something like that, right? Or like a thought form or a thought process, or like an uh, like an archetype of a person or an idea of a person rather than an actual soul. Because I think you brought up a really good point right now. Because what if that is what it is? What if this is just taken from the whole, from the collective, and these are just created by his mind, but he creates them, but they're a sort of entity in their own. What if they become conscious and they become sentient, these personalities, after he creates them? That's interesting right there, I think. Yeah, you don't believe in one soul, at least I hope that, yeah, for sure. Schizophrenia. All right, loyalty, you said, I noticed dark triad people always die alone, and I used to see it as cruel, but now I see it as protecting people from taking on the dark energy because it doesn't want to cease to exist and it will jump. Right, right, okay. Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't assume that, a soul necessarily just does things that we expect it to do after dying, right? Shouldn't assume that at all. Like, what if it leaves the body and it immediately wants to find another, right? Or like in that documentary, after the Japan tsunami, what if, they don't know they died? Speaking of that documentary, a woman in that documentary, so after the 2011 Japanese tsunami, came to a Buddhist monk because she said she had multiple souls inside of her. And they all came out as different characters, as different characteristics. And basically, this Buddhist monk was trying to expel them from her body. So think of it that way, right? The tsunami hit, 20,000 dead in a matter of minutes. Most of them probably don't know that they freaking died, right? Just like I think a lot of soldiers on battlefields probably don't know they died, especially if they were blown up and they think they're still in the battlefield. This is kind of similar. So, and then they're like, what's going on? So they just like attach themselves to a body or a powerful soul, right? Because I think this lady that attached that they were attached to. I think she was a very powerful soul. So they kind of gravitate towards that, right? Possibly. So that's a great point. Loyalty and schizophrenia, they're definitely interacting with entities. They tried to label me that, but couldn't for a number of reasons. Exactly. Yeah. I just finished the show. What you did? Huh, right on. Yeah, that's cool. What'd you talk about? Well, I'll check it out actually. How could the splits know other languages? I don't know. Like I said, he didn't demonstrate that in any of the videos that were filmed. This is just a claim that his mom made, that he was speaking in Yugoslavian. I don't know how they would know, but it's kind of like you heard of stories of like demon possession where they would be speaking fluid Latin and stuff like that. So maybe it's kind of similar to that. There is True Dan. We're just talking about you at a restaurant right now. Yeah, I always got the Russian style because I'm Russian. Don't tell that to the Ukrainians, please. They won't like it. My wife's Ukrainian. Don't tell her I'm Russian. Yeah, we talked about you about 20 minutes ago, Dan, and I actually read your post about the animals going in circles, and we're still kind of split on that, dude. We're still not entirely certain. I speak fluent French in dreams, only in dreams. Really, Pangreedy? Do you really? That is freaking awesome. Understood, Dan. I'm glad you understand. Man. Oh, wow. Okay. Let's start finishing up the stream now because I got to help them with something soon. So let's go for a few more minutes. Any conclusive thoughts, anyone? I think we really discussed some great stuff tonight. And yeah, and I'm glad you just brought that up, that you speak French in your dreams. But did anybody actually hear you speak? Well, how do you know that though? Or do you like wake up speaking French, or like how does that actually happen? Or like does your family hear you speak French? Because I'm like intrigued right now, big time. So I'm like, since you were a child, wow. Yeah, the animal in circles is a weird phenomenon, but global event would look way different. To be continued, I guess, right? And hey, it might have stopped. I haven't heard anything about it in a couple of days now. So did they stop going in circles? Like, what's going on? But Dan, you know what makes this strange is that if you were in the stream earlier, we're talking about people going in circles too, because it's happening to people too. But except the people, they go in circles and then they die. And there's not a dozen videos of this. There's hundreds where people are twirling in circles, looking up into the air, and then they just fall dead. So we're like trying to maybe pinpoint any similarities between the animals and the humans, and if there's a connection at all. But the animals don't end up dead as opposed to the humans. So if I could find a link, I'll send you, Dan, of people twirling in circles and dying. I dream math a lot in my dreams. And hate math. I hate math too. I always sucked at math. Always sucked at it. Always made me frustrated as hell. Hate math. But you know what? Albert Einstein hated math too. And he failed it in school. So, and look where he turned out. So maybe you have a hidden gift angel that you're not aware of or something. Maybe one day you'll get like some kind of epiphany and you'll start automatic writing or whatever. I remember phrases and can Google now as a kid. It was witnessed. That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say he was definitely a fraud in some ways. Yeah. I don't know if I would say he was a fraud, but I think he was over glamorized or kind of overly praised. And not just him, though. I think a lot of these characters, like Benjamin Franklin or Isaac Newton, or they're given a little bit too much credit, in my opinion. And there's probably other characters in history that they've suppressed that should have gotten more credit, like Nikola Tesla, for example. Okay. Major change. We're about to be moved. Oh, I hope so. Can't wait anymore. I can't wait till 2060. I'm not waiting 40 more years. I can't. Like I guess it'll pass by quickly because time is going so fast. But 40 years is still a long time. That's more than my entire life. So, right, yeah, old religious places of worship, they walk in circular pattern before entering the sacred place. And then the whirling dervishes, don't forget them. The Islamic sect, the Sufis. Uh, uh, oh man, okay. Anybody got anything else to say before I head out? And hopefully I will do videos before the end of the year because things slightly did change. So we'll see how that goes. At very least, I'm going to do more live streams. So because these are fun. So probably the next time you see me will be a live stream again. Thanks. Enjoyed it too. Very good. Earth's magnetism. Yeah, we talked about that earlier, Dan. Awesome. You everyone have a great night. Thank you so much. Bye.